how do we navigate things like cultural trends, current world events, and disagreement in church? Honest Conversations is a deeper dive into some of your important questions that we don't always have time to cover in a Sunday morning service. Ready to dive in? Let's join Andrew and Brooke for today's Honest Conversation.
Well, welcome back, everyone. It's been a hot minute.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, but it's good to be back. And we want to talk about Lent because it is upon us. It is here.
We do want to talk about that, Brooke, but I have a surprise for you.
What?
I'm hijacking this episode. Tell us about what's going on with the book.
Are you kidding me?
No, I want to know. I want to know, and the people want to know.
Oh, my
Diego,
goodness.
do you want to know?
Sure.
Diego wants to know. What's going on with the book? What's up? What's the update?
I don't know if a lot of people even know that I was writing a book.
Well, now the whole world
Here we
knows.
go. Okay. It's literally the first time I've publicly said it.
Oh,
Isn't
is
that
this
funny?
okay then?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
this
totally
isn't a
fine.
secret.
It's just it's been a kind of crazy last year. So the book is written. It is submitted. I think it is going through copyright editing at this point.
Sweet.
Looking at cover designs, all that kind of stuff.
wow.
But it is still, as far as I know, slated for the end of August.
Okay.
So this summer.
Gosh, that takes a long time.
It is a very long process. And I said to Cole, if I would have known what all goes into this before, I don't know that I would have agreed to it.
Right.
Because it's a lot. And you'll be finding that out too as you're in your process of writing. Are you still doing that?
I'm not doing it, but I don't know if I can with integrity say I am doing it still.
Yeah.
Because I'm not actively writing right now. I want to be sort of. It's just kind of on the back burner.
Yeah.
There's no due date for it. There's no, so it kind of just falls behind.
You almost need,
everything else
at least
in
my
life.
personality, you need a due date.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, I'm not good at this. It's like, so it's a lot it's hard. It's just hard.
It's really hard. And for me, with my background in news, I have been trained for, the last 15 years to write concisely.
Right.
So take a really complicated story and whittle it down to 30 seconds. That is like what I do.
Right.
And now it's like, here's 3,000 words for your first chapter. And I'm like, what? Like it felt like a lot. And I definitely had some days of just like, I can't do this. But they say that that's the journey of a writer.
Yes.
You have those days where you're like, this is terrible. And then the next day you're like, yes, this is awesome. So
yeah, it's hard to know. I feel like it's hard to know what's a rabbit trail and what is not a rabbit trail.
Yeah.
Where am I rambling and where do I need to just say something?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
'Cause
but tell us what the book is about.
Okay. So the book is called Controlled Burn.
Let's go.
And it is very summary version. It is about walking through suffering with hope. It was actually a vision that I received a couple years ago as I felt a nudge to get out of TV news. It was I was in my dream position. I had worked my whole life to get there. So when I felt that nudge, it was really scary. And I was driving and I just asked the Lord, I said, Lord, if you're calling me out of the news, can you tell me what you're calling me into? And I just saw this clear image of a burned out forest, just ash and charred, spindles and wind swirling. And I just heard the two words controlled burn. And I got really quiet because that hadn't happened to me before. It hasn't happened since. And it was just such a God is talking. I need to be quiet. And so piece by piece, he just started leading me on this journey of how we can view suffering and how it can so easily turn into a wildfire that can destroy for generations and have no purpose. Or if our pain and our suffering is bordered by his promises, his provision, his purpose, what it can do is burn away things in our lives that have been holding us back from his presence and leave behind nutrient-rich soil that can grow things that could have never grown without the fire. That's what we experienced through the loss of our daughter 5 years ago. And our lives are completely different and transformed because of the miraculous redemption of God's grace. And so we walk through, really, it's not a theological book, although we do tackle some of those topics, but it's really a walking through this journey of your forest and your design and what fires can do and how God can redeem them and what can grow as a result. So it's kind of just an exploratory journey kind of together for people who are walking through hard times or who have and kind of want to reevaluate if they've allowed God. Because really the choice is ours in pain and suffering. We can try and survive or numb or succumb, or we can submit and surrender, which is Jesus' example to the Father in his suffering. And ultimately that's what it's about, is knowing him.
So good.
Yeah.
It's really exciting.
Thank you. I'm super intimidated and kind of nervous and expectant and all the things for it. I have no idea, but it's just kind of one of those things that God clearly opened doors, and I said, okay, and here we are. So.
That's so good. Yeah, I'm really excited for it. And I think the bits of it that I read, I think that the way you just explained it is really awesome. I think it gives really good vision for suffering, but it doesn't try to explain suffering away. It's like that's sort of a fool's errand in some ways. But to have right godly vision, I think that you paint a really good picture of that. And that can be so helpful to navigate the pain and the confusion and the questions. I think you do such a good job of orienting people around God's sovereignty, his purpose, his love, his goodness, and faith in the midst of all of that, which is kind of the key.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I credit so much to your teaching and being able to sit under your teaching for these years since then. It's so interesting because when I first got that vision, I was still in kind of news mode, right? Like I was still thinking like, oh, okay, what is this going to be? Like, how does God want to use this? And he took 2 years to slow me down. I did ADS. Yeah. I did missions trip. We started homeschooling. I told a women's group this week, I started baking bread. Like, I started resting and I allowed him to peel off all of this performance junk and expectation and really just learn to love and be loved by him in this season. And then I felt like it was when the world was dead to me that all of a sudden this book opportunity literally just flung open. And it's just like, man, I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful for him and his sanctification that won't let me go until I'm ready, and so much of that is thanks to you and Antioch.
Wow.
And so thanks.
Thanks for saying that. And that's so encouraging. That's so powerful. I love it.
Yeah.
So end of August.
I think so.
Ish.
I'll keep you updated, but yeah.
And it's called Controlled
Burn.
I love that.
Yeah. My goal is to really get curriculum out as well. So that's hopefully phase 2 of this. So I talked to people who know way more than I do, and they said, you need to write a book first. I said, do I really?
Yeah.
They said, yeah, you probably should. So we'll see.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So what did you say about suffering with hope? What was the phrase? Is that like the subtitle or?
I don't have a subtitle yet. If you have a clever one, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you said something about, navigating suffering
just walking.
with hope.
Yeah. Walking through suffering with hope.
Walking through suffering with hope. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just kind of,
I think that's a pretty good subtitle.
Yeah. Hey, it's not bad. The reason that I think this started, I started having this nudge was through our journey, our experience, through the loss of our daughter. I heard from hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people walking through their own grief and suffering, but there was just this absence of hope that was like burdensome to me because I was like, this isn't it. Like we're missing something. And a lot of these people were Christians, And so I was like, whoa, there's a divide here. And the Bible talks so much about this. What are we missing? And I think that I'm just really thankful that the Lord, felt like he could trust me with it. Cause I think it is a beautiful picture, of how to do it. So.
So good.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the book, and I think that, I hope that this gets people excited who are listening. I know we've, over the last year or so, have had different questions come in when we've asked for feedback on the podcast about people wanting to talk about suffering.
Yeah.
And so that's, you and I haven't talked too much about this, but there's this episode in my head that we need to kind of figure out, or series or something on just discussions about suffering. So I think that that'll probably come this year sometime, but I have some ideas in my head about that, but wanted to bring this up now just to give you a chance to tell everybody about it, and also put it on people's radar. Like, send us questions, what do you want to talk about? What questions, what discussions are there? I think, hearing you share a bunch of things would be great. And like I said, there's things in my mind, but I think there's some conversations to come around everything you're talking about. What is suffering? How do we go through it? What's God doing? How do we make sense of it? I mean, we've gotten those questions on the podcast. I get them all the time. You're getting hundreds and hundreds of them because of your journey and the kind of the public aspect of that. So there's a lot to dig into. I think it's really important. And that's one of the reasons I'm really excited about your book. I think it's a really needed message, and I think that you're doing a great job of it. So it's exciting.
Thank you. Thanks for surprising me with this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I probably wouldn't have agreed to it otherwise. So.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad.
No, thanks. I'm honored. Thanks, Andrew.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us on this episode of Honest Conversations with Brooke. We'll keep you updated on the book.
All right. Lent is actually coming up next.
Yes.
That's all for today's Honest Conversation.